Welcome to episode 2 of SmolTakes with me, Small. TikTok has become a cesspool of inequity, allowing larger creators who are considered assets to the company who bring in tens of millions, if not billions of views, and protecting them, while permanently banning or constantly restricting smaller accounts for little to no good reason. For community guidelines, these larger creators break all the time. Today we'll be discussing who, in my opinion, is the most infamous modern warrior. So let's get into it. One thing that desperately needs to be understood is the world isn't black and white. So much so that according to an opinion piece by Clay Thompson for the Arizona Republic newspaper, scientists have determined that in the lab we can see about 1,000 levels of dark and light, and about 100 levels of each red and green and yellow and blue shade. That's about 10 million colors right there. Just imagine the breakthrough conversations we could have if we recognize that serious issues such as racism, healthcare, immigration, and equality aren't conversations we can have in a black and white perspective. No pun intended. We have to be able to take a step back and recognize the myriad of colors. Viewing our world through a black and white binary perspective is outdated and dull. In order to hold productive and lasting conversations, we have to recognize that we can talk about one issue without ignoring another. Which leads me into today's discussion. Modern warrior on TikTok, whose real name is Lance, is a member of the indigenous Navajo Nation, and for a little bit of background, he grew up on the reservation until about 12 years old. His mother then decided to move her family to Glenwood Springs, Colorado, seeking better opportunities for her family off the reservation. Since that time, the tough guy persona and low-key personality he was known for has blossomed into who we know now on TikTok. Lance has become infamous for basing the majority of his content on the concept of white people being colonizers, stating that his content is simply pointing out white supremacy. Gaining over 1.9 million followers on TikTok and creating and selling merchandise which capitalizes on the idea that the white man is the problem with America. Besides this content, t-shirts labeled with colonizer and water bottles decorated with the words colonizer tears are available for purchase. Let's hear what Lance has to say about those of us who are lacking in melanin and how we can help indigenous people.
What is one way you combat racism on a daily basis? I'll go first. I don't move for white people on the sidewalk. A lot of white allies and accomplices ask, how can they support black and indigenous people of color? And sometimes I really don't know what to say, but here's one easy way. Just don't have babies.
For the next part of the discussion, it's absolutely imperative you remember that the world isn't black and white. You can recognize one issue while not completely ignoring another. Let's also get some key definitions out of the way. Racism. Prejudice, discrimination, or antagonism directed against a person or people on the basis of their membership in a particular racial or ethnic group. Slurs. An insinuation or allegation about someone that is likely to insult them or damage their reputation. It is also important to note that in no way do those definitions or the following community guidelines exclude white people. The introduction for TikTok's community guidelines state, at TikTok, we prioritize safety, diversity, inclusion, and authenticity. We encourage creators to celebrate what makes them unique and viewers to engage in what inspires them. And we believe that a safe environment helps everyone express themselves openly. Our community guidelines apply to everyone and everything on TikTok. And then it goes on to list key points that TikTok has no tolerance for, such as organized hate. Organized hate refers to those individuals and organizations who attack people based on protected characteristics such as race, ethnicity, national origin, religion, caste, sexual orientation, sex, gender identity, or immigration status. We consider attacks to include actions that incite violence or hatred, dehumanize individuals or groups, or embrace a hateful ideology.
I don't move for white people on the sidewalk. Just don't have babies.
Do not post, upload, stream, or share hateful content related to an individual or group, including claiming that they are physically, mentally, or morally inferior, calling for or justifying violence against them, claiming that they are criminals, referring to them as animals, inanimate objects, or other non-human entities, promoting or justifying exclusion, segregation, or discrimination against them. Slurs. Slurs are defined as derogatory terms that are intended to disparage an ethnicity, race, or any other protected attributes listed above. To minimize the spread of egregiously offensive terms, we remove all slurs from our platform unless the terms are reappropriated or do not disparage.
A colonizer, a colonizer, a colonizer, a colonizer, a colonizer, a colonizer, a colonizer.
Sure, colonizer isn't a word that we would consider a slur in day-to-day life, but listen to the way that Lance is using it. He's using it as a derogatory term, as a way to belittle or damage that person's reputation within the TikTok community, which is the literal textbook definition of the word slur. TikTok has many more guidelines that Lance decides to break, but we would be here all day if we went through each one. It's almost an unspoken running joke between the people who stand up to or question Lance's morality that you can expect to be banned or his followers harass and bully you until you're forced to private your account unless they manage to have your entire account taken down. And I'm speaking from experience. My main account on TikTok was permanently banned after posting the video of him saying he wouldn't move for white people on the street, with a definition of racism plastered over his face. The video, which is blatantly prejudiced and antagonistic towards white people, and ultimately, I believe, textbook definition of racism, was taken down from my account. TikTok had enough sense to give me the account back and restore the video, but they still have me on a temporary ban. Tread as lightly as you want on TikTok, but expect to be harassed and bullied, and even possibly silenced like myself and millions of others across the platform if you don't follow the herd. I would in no way call for the removal of Lance from TikTok, but I firmly believe that people have the right to express themselves and their opinions as laid out by the Constitution of the United States of America. If an app like TikTok, or any app for that matter, is going to be allowed in our country, they should have to follow the standards laid out by our Constitution in regards to free exercise of religion, freedom of speech and of the press, and the freedom to petition the government for redress of grievances. The internet has become more than just a place to share funny cat videos or memes. It's become a public town square where people go to speak their minds, express their opinions, and sometimes even question the people in power. Although I believe that combating what he believes is racism, hatred, or white supremacy with more racism and hatred is the wrong route and destined for failure, I still believe that he has every right to have his platform. Just as I believe that every person who wants to question his motives or the things that he says on that platform has a right to their opinion and has that right for that opinion to be protected and heard. Whether it be Lance spreading hate and being antagonistic towards white people, young women prancing around in tight little outfits, or other methods of trying to destroy the core values of America, replacing it with something much more Orwellian in nature should never and will never last in our great nation. Everyone on social media platforms being used in America should be held accountable for their content in the same manner across the board. TikTok proves time and time again that they prioritize larger accounts, and Lance is a perfect example of that. At the end of the day, Lance's bigoted and antagonistic nature towards those whose families immigrated here for the beacon of hope and freedom America has come to stand for should be held accountable in the same way millions of other smaller creators have had to. Thank you for listening to Small Takes. Drop a like, share it with a friend, and let's make some waves. Godspeed.